What's going on, man?
How's it going?
Dude, chilling, man.
Good, good.
Yeah. Um, well, shit. Welcome to the show, guys. We're gonna talk about some pretty interesting shit today. 20s and travel. All about our 20s and all about what it means to graduate from. It's just basically about a story about graduating from college, and kind of exploring yourself. You're trying to find who you are as a person, what you need from life, and who better to come on the podcast and tell us than my good buddy Austin O'Brien.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a good journey. It's been a good journey thus far. So
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a leap of faith that you have to take because um, it's not like will people kind of succumb to the belief that they just need to jump right into a job, and I won't go into it too much, but um, they feel that they just should jump into a job. They get um, very sucked into the societal norm, like whatever they find is the safest route to take, whatever is going to put food on the table. Totally understandable, but that's another topic. I guess we can jump right into it. You want to just transition um, from I mean, graduating from Florida State and then
mhm.
coming back home. I mean, have you found the transition from leaving school to coming back to Jupiter to be uh, difficult, easy?
Well, I mean, going to Florida State was all you get all the party and you get all the hype and everything like that, and then going back to a place where your family's at, it's a lot slower paced. It's a lot more more elementary than the fact that things are a lot easier
Yeah,
with your parents and everything like that. But for me personally, I just decided to take that leap of faith, go on a road trip, and explore my options for about a month and a half, just living life on the road, finding new things every single day, seeing new people every single day, and getting myself out of that
Every single
element
day, we do
of
some things that are
stagnation.
fantastic for our
So
confidence, and we do others that
I'd
aren't so
say
good. They
for a
drag it
lot of
down and
people, it would
destroy it.
kind of be
Problem is,
hard
we
just to
can't
take
always tell
that
which of
fear
those
of the
is which, and
unknown.
that's one.
But for me, that's what I wanted to do. That's what got me just extremely interested in everything around.
definitely. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I really admire it. And I feel like a lot of people would definitely love to go down that road. Um, and it's fucking awesome
It really
to just
is.
kind of take the step. I mean, like just to be able to get off your high horse mentally and to be able to say,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm gonna put a plan together and I'm gonna do this thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna wait till I'm
That's
50. I'm
exactly
not
what
gonna
happened. It's just,
like I'm doing it now, man. Like what's a better time
hmm
than the present moment?
hmm
But anyways, so what was it like? Let's dive into the specifics. What was the specific call to travel? Like, was it a building idea throughout college, or did you just suddenly have an epiphany? Just want to elaborate more on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd say my first 2 years of college was that of everyone else's, of just drinking, partying, having fun, everything like that. So nothing really came to me or
Right.
came about traveling until maybe my mid junior year, early senior year of college. And it wasn't really any one thing per se, but it was a culmination of everything that I've been listening to, everything that I've been watching, and just kind of following that whole counterculture, like just make your own path and
Right.
discover it yourself. Just go do what you want to do instead of getting out of college and going directly working in the workforce and just not having a fulfilled life in that sense.
No, totally. Um, no, definitely. Um, it's definitely there's a bridge to gap, and I think for the people that are listening, a lot of people could kind of relate to the notion of um, bridging this gap between um, your thoughts and reality, and then getting from point A to point B. There's got to be that bridge that you have to build, and point A could be school, like for in your case, school.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, shit, I'm in school right now, and point B is like that road trip,
Yeah.
and all the stuff in between. That bridge seems to be, like you're saying, paraphrasing from what you're saying, a culmination of information regarding stuff from the podcast you're listening to, influencers, um, and then also having the courage to tell your parent, not tell your parents, but to listen to your parents with sincerity and understand they're coming from a place of a different mindset, not wrong, but just different, and then understand, okay, I understand what you're saying, guys, but I'm gonna do this. This is what I feel like is right for me, and just so be it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I did. I was just always saying what I'm gonna do on my mind, not lying about anything, just getting it out there. And, I think that's really important to have people that kind of understand where you're coming from, but then there's always going to be those people who don't understand where you're coming from, and it's cool to see how they will respond to what you say and try to get them to understand more about what you want to do personally.
Right. It's just a game of perspective.
It really is.
No, it definitely is. Or yeah. So let's kind of transition to the trip itself. I mean,
Yeah.
you started off obviously in Florida, and
Mm-hmm.
then drove up a little bit up the coast to like what was it, Georgia?
Yeah, stopped in Savannah for a couple of days and got the road trip started from that. And I kind of did the whole stop in a city for about 2 to 3 days. If I really liked the city, I would stay there a little bit longer. But for the most part, I just wanted to see the most that I can, and just I wanted something new every single day. So living in a car and stopping in a city, your only option is to be outside of the car. You can't spend your whole day inside the car. So I
Right.
mean, I conquered cities in about a day and a half or 2 days of just walking around, riding my bike around, and just exploring that way. And then just coming back to my car, and I mean, that was my like safe haven right there. So I mean, I was outside most of the time, which I really enjoyed.
Right. It's so
Yeah.
different because we grow up in a household with parents that pay the bills and do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in our case, and um, all of a sudden you take off and you're like, all right, guys, I'm leaving, but you're not in a house anymore. You're in a
No.
mobile. You're in a mobile fucking tin can on the road.
Yeah.
like like you tell me stories like when you're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but when you're sleeping in the car and you got a little fucking panel of glass between you and who knows
Mm-hmm.
who, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Who knows what's going on? So I mean, not to jump ahead too far, but the mental fortitude that you must have built along the trip must have been greatly enhanced. You must have built that shield up of armor regarding your mental fortitude because of the trials and tribulations that you've had to go through in order
Yeah, and I
to.
mean, I could tell you firsthand, like the first week was nothing that I expected it to be. I was not myself. I was doubting the whole trip. I was doubting a lot of things, and I just said to myself that this is just like a test in my life and a small little part of my life that felt so big at the moment that I just had to get through that
Right.
personally, and then for then on out, the rest of the trip, it was nothing but like the happiest, best times that I've ever had. So I mean, it's just like you said, it was just conquering those small little feats that you would have, those doubts and everything like that, and the uncomfortableness of throwing yourself out there in places that you've never been before, experiences that you've never experienced before, and once you accomplish that, then you can really accomplish everything, and everything got a lot easier after that.
Right. No, totally.
Mm-hmm.
It's an experience that I don't know you can get anywhere else. Maybe traveling abroad, but I think travel is a central theme through
Yeah.
which people can kind of find themselves, and people take many different avenues. I
Mm-hmm.
know people that go over to India and they try to walk around the streets to find enlightenment, where they
Mm-hmm.
go to California to drive up the coast of California and try to surf every spot. But
Exactly.
in your case, like you're just driving around in different spots, you just don't know what's going to happen. There's so much uncertainty, and the beauty of life is embracing that uncertainty and like realizing like life is happening right now, like this moment right now. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
a fucking park in the middle of
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, walking around a botanical garden and just like looking around
Yeah.
and be like, dude, I'm here right now. Like, what more
Yeah.
is there than this moment right now? Like the birds singing in the background, the cold cup of coffee or cold brew. Cold coffee sucks, but cold brew. I
I agree with
had
you
to
on
clear.
that one.
I had to clear that up. It's cold
Mm-hmm.
brew, guys. Um, and yeah, just embracing life. It's just really boils down to life. And this whole
Yeah.
trip so far has sounded like nothing but a a huge momentous or a huge life changing life experience.
It was. I mean,
Something to build on.
it was definitely a wake up call of just throwing myself out there again, and I just feel like I learned the most about myself while traveling in the road, while in the mountains with no phone reception, no GPS coordinates, no really any sense of security or
Right.
whereabouts that where I'm at. I felt like that was the time where I really just I was by myself. There's nothing around me but the mountains in my car, but I mean nothing else, and that's just really where I found the best part of myself, my internal self, just coming out and exploring the options that I have now
Right.
and everything.
No, totally. It just makes so much sense to listen to from your perspective. Seeing it from an objective point of view, from my view, seeing you do it is just totally different than when you talk about it from your own subjective view. And it's just really
Exactly.
interesting to hear the little pieces come together because I'm like, that does make sense now.
Hmm.
So it's cool to see the pieces come together. So I guess jumping out of the philosophic part of the trip and jumping back into
Yep.
uh, the actual nuts and bolts of the trip.
Hmm.
Um, so you're in Savannah, and then you go over to was it Oklahoma City and all that, cutting through
Yeah.
Missouri and all.
So after Savannah, I went up a little bit more along the Atlantic coast, cut through the Appalachian Mountains and the Great Smoky Mountains in that area. Fell into a few little tourist traps, but made sure to go steer clear of that.
Definitely.
But then it was straight on through, and my goal was to hit Colorado, and that was on my mind. It was okay. I'm in the Great Smoky Mountains, and now I'm going to be in Colorado in a matter of moments. But that, of course, didn't happen. You have to pass through a couple states. So I went through and stopped at some really small town that I never even knew existed. It was like Greenville, Tennessee, or something, just some out of the blue little town. That was fun. And then a couple days later, I made it to Oklahoma City, which I'd never been there before, and I really found that city was clean. It was nice. It was different. I don't know. I
Right.
really enjoyed that city.
Ah,
Made my way to New Mexico and then eventually into Colorado. But I guess I could say that I really wanted to get to Colorado as fast as I could, not knowing how long it would take. And I'm glad that it did take longer than I expected to get there because I found so many other neat places. And I think that's the beauty of road trips and everything like that.
right. It just totally seems to open up your perspective because it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like it's almost a metaphor for what's going on in life. Because you're taking this road, and people let's use the path of success, whatever somebody's
Mm-hmm.
version of success is. They think it's just like a straight linear line up to the top. It's not
Yeah.
like that's not the case. Like if you look at the anatomical features of a mountain, mountains go up, but then they go down. There's gorges. There's pitfalls. There's glaciers and fucking icebergs and monsters down there and shit.
A whole
Like
bunch of
you're gonna
stuff.
get
Yeah.
eaten up and spitting out alive, but you just keep going. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna go down,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna go back up. You'll get to the top if you put the work and have the grit to do so. But it's interesting to make that connection between the pattern of learning how to find success in life and then the road trip, especially the one that you're on, because there's so many different points in the trip where you're probably, I'm kind of alluding to it, but like, is this the right thing? Like, am I in the
Hmm.
right place right now? Am I,
Yeah.
should I have gotten the job? Should I have done this?
Hmm.
Should I? Jumping out of the present moment to a distant and non-existent really future that doesn't matter. It's all about coming back to the present moment, and um, and that actually pushes me to my next point.
Yeah.
What was the? There was actually a little story. I remember we talked about it a couple months ago, but there was a story about sleeping. What was it? The San Jose National Forest.
Yeah. So when I got into Colorado, I was in the San Juan National
Or San Juan.
Forest and got there, and there was a bunch of maybe like 3 or 4 different van lifers out there. So I knew it was the place that I could be in and camp for free.
I'm just gonna stop these
So
for a sec. What would
yeah.
just explain what the van life is?
Okay, so van life is essentially living out of your car, but not in that sense. It's more building your home inside your car and becoming sort of a traveling nomad where you
Right.
don't have like a stationary house, but you're able to explore many different places, park in many different areas because you live in your car. You make your car your home, and that's what I did. So, I mean, every single night I ended up sleeping in my car, made it as comfortable as possible, but you're still sleeping in your car, especially if you have a short car, then it's not the most optimal sleeping spot. But I mean, you can
Right.
make it work for what you see.
Right. I mean, you can always make do with the car that you have. So basically, it doesn't need to be. Uh, it doesn't need to be that classic VW camper
No,
van with the
no.
top and the space and all the speakers and the
Mm-hmm.
you know um, yeah. So to make it a point, you can make it work. It doesn't need to be the van or the bus or whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't you don't need $10,000, whatever X amount of money to go do it. You just do it. So, anyways, van life, man.
Yeah.
Definitely, I didn't even realize people did that until I didn't realize it was an actual group of people until
Mm-hmm.
you brought it up on the trip, and then you tell me there was like there were meets and stuff
Yeah.
for van life. It's just this whole collusion of
There's a whole
people.
culture.
Yeah, whole culture
Whole,
exactly. It's just that's cool. So I definitely would love to get into that, and I'm sure people listening. I mean, that's got to be super cool. Just an abstract but cool thing to dive into. Um,
yeah.
but anyways, so on the San Juan National Forest night or whatever the trip, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there a little story about that? I remember you talking about camping in the middle of the forest and then sending a picture and you're uh, waking up next to a river, and I'll let you tell the story, but
Yeah. Yeah.
just
So
very
I
picturesque.
got there just before sundown. I mean, maybe an hour and a half before sundown. So I had just enough time to get everything ready, set up my hammock, put a tent up, but I didn't end up sleeping in the tent because it got about 20 degrees that night. So I was unprepared
It's a
in the
little
fact
cold.
that I didn't have any heavier blanket because I was coming from the south, and I mean it was a big weather difference or climate difference from where I am or where I was then.
Right.
But it was just the most serene spot right next to a river. And it was just easier to fall asleep there, just knowing that I was surrounded by wilderness, surrounded by maybe 1 or 2 or 3 other like van lifers that were out
Mm-hmm.
there. So it was just a totally unique, serene experience, and it was all for free too. It was right
Right.
off the highway, in a little secluded spot down by the woods.
Right. No, totally. It's just that's the beauty of these trips is that they don't need to be all posh and lush and
Yeah.
foo-foo expensive. You're camping for free in some of the coolest terrain in the world, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so waking up there in the morning, or not even in the morning, that night, Must have
Hmm.
been, was it a weird sleep thinking, there's mountain lions out here. There's
Yeah,
stuff out here.
yeah.
I have food in my car. What if a bear comes up? Like what ifs, all those what ifs.
There were signs. There were signs up for like watch out for bears and all that, like wildlife and everything like that. And it kind of dawned on me, like just thinking about it. Maybe I shouldn't leave something outside my car, or maybe I should just, I don't know, take extra precautions or whatever. But I fell asleep right away because it was as quiet as can be, and it was just peaceful. It was sleeping there knowing that no one was going to wake me up in the middle of the night to say I can't park there. It wasn't going to be some sketchy guy knocking on my door or anything like that. And it was just a lot easier. And I really enjoyed camping out in BLM areas.
No, definitely. What is a BLM exactly?
It's the Bureau of Land Management. So
Okay.
it's free land that you can camp on.
Okay.
Essentially, we have a lot of them out west in the United States.
Now, are they usually at national parks, or is it like how is that set up?
There's a couple in national parks. It's but for majority, I believe they're all just kind of scattered around different areas. I don't know how many are actually inside national parks because then you probably have to pay a fee to get in there.
Right.
But they could be right on the edge of the park and still essentially be inside the park.
Right. And that's essentially just to go. It's a space for campers to camp or what
Yeah,
have you.
that's what it is. It's a free spot from the government saying that this land you can camp out on.
Gotcha. That's cool. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Um, you learn something new every moment, huh? Or day.
Yeah.
So then on the trip, is there? I know where you just telling me a cool story, but is there? Um, was there a pivotal point in the trip where you got to a point where you're kind of thinking, is this the right thing? I know I brought it before. Is this trip for me? Is it like, am I really gonna find myself? Or like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, could you kind of build on that?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, at first, like I said, that first week was really, really tough, and everything. I just had my doubts, but really from then on out, it was just more of the exploration of every city and seeing new things, and I think that brought freshness to my mind every
Yeah.
single day. And the whole trip lasted about a month and a half. But if you said that to me, I would say I had no clue how long that lasted because truly every single day felt like the longest moment that can happen in a good way. So just going back to what you said, like, was there any pivotal moment that I just really, it really dawned on me, like what I'm doing? I feel like it was just all the time after that first week got out of the way. I just felt so ingrained in what I was doing and so envisioned in myself just that it just rolled right along.
Right. No, a lot of the books I've been reading now, especially this book Inner Engineering, it's just all about the very intricacies and the very fun the foundation of your day and the foundation of life. Like your day is just a microcosm of your life, and a moment is just a microcosm of the day. Talking in a subjective time manner for people to understand what we're talking about here, but I mean, it's just all about the moment. And once you can live in the expansive omniscience of the moment, if that's the right word, um, there it's just limitless. Like life becomes limitless, and it becomes this whole beautiful art piece. Like there's just so much you can do. There's no limit. Maybe putting toothpaste back in a toothpaste bottle. I've tried that because I heard that something. Like that's
Yeah.
impossible. I'm like, no, that's not impossible. It's
No.
impossible, or nearly.
You can
You
do
know,
whatever you really want to do. And I mean, that's what I want people to like realize about things. Like, go do what you want to do. Don't just like sit down and have the thought of doing it. Just go actually do it because that changed the way I think from just 6 months ago to now. That just changed my whole life course, and now I'm on a totally different path, like striving to what I want to do.
right? In a year ago, Probably
Hmm.
a year ago or whenever. There was a day when we were sitting on the beach 6 months ago, even, and
Yeah.
you were just talking about the idea of this trip. Not even the trip itself, but just the idea of it
Hmm.
before you even had it planned out. And now to look 6 months later, I think roughly, and be like, "Wow, I did that. It's in the past. I built on that, and look where I am now." It's
Exactly.
all the what ifs come in, which those don't matter. But for the purpose of this little topic, I'd like to bring in the what ifs because what if you didn't go on that trip? What
Hmm.
if you said yes to Austin, Texas, and then you're in Austin, Texas? I mean, there's just so many possibilities, and none of them are really wrong because they're all essentially making your way up the mountain. Some
Hmm.
of you might just take a pitfall instead of the bridge that somebody built. A good analogy for that being, um, well, that being the analogy, but the explanation behind it is the person that didn't learn from other people's mistakes fell into the gorge that other people fall into, and all the dead bodies of of, of people's mistakes, whatever. I'm trying to
Yeah.
make a thing there, but uh, you can just go over the bridge that somebody created, and you don't need to make that mistake. They built the bridge for
Hmm.
you. You just go over it,
Hmm.
and
Exactly.
so yeah, I think that connects to what you're saying. But
Yeah.
all right, back to the trip. We keep getting sidetracked here. That's all right.
Yeah.
Um, Going all the way up to, well, when you were in Colorado,
Yeah.
there was a point, and I talk about pivotal points, but there must
Hmm.
have been a point of existential crisis where you're kind of like
Yeah.
like is this for me? Where am I
Yeah.
going? Am I going too fast?
Hmm.
And then
So
yeah,
yeah, so when I
go
was
ahead.
in Colorado, I mean, yeah, I made it to Colorado, made it to where I wanted to be, and I just felt extremely overwhelmed by just everything. I don't know what caused it, but it just dawned down on me, and there was a huge burden just like laying on me, just saying like, "What are you doing right now? Why are you going so fast? Why are you going from city to city to city? Why do you want to see the next thing and the next thing and the next thing?" And I wasn't where I wanted to be, just right there in the moment and just living like that how I wanted to be. I was just always looking for the next thing and the next thing. So I spent that night just really thinking like, hey, I'm gonna take stuff a lot slower now. Just I'm not gonna really tell myself, hey, I need to get to this spot or this destination by this date. I'm just gonna let it roll and see how that goes. And after that moment, it was a lot smoother in the sense that I felt a lot more comfortable with going to a city. And if I didn't get everything that I wanted to accomplished in one day, then I would just wait for the next day or wait for the next day. It didn't have to happen right then and there.
Right.
Everything just rolled along as it should roll along.
Now it's I wanted to talk about that in a broader context. Has it,
Yeah.
or in a more direct life context, actually,
Yeah.
has that realization transferred over into your life to where you kind of just live it more moment to moment, not to not look in the future, but to slow down a little bit, to not rush the process. Has that
Yeah.
transferred over into your life at all?
It definitely has. And especially now, I always look back and just say, "Hey, yeah, I did the whole trip. I'm still here right now.
Yeah,
Where am I going to be in a year from now? Like, what am I actually doing right now? Since I'm done with the trip and done with what I wanted to do, like, what's the next step?" And I always just look back and say, "Hey, I need to take it a little bit slower. I need to just focus on myself right now." And I'm still gaining traction to where I
right,
want to go in the future. Like everybody looks at the future and just has that vision or has that goal.
right.
You're gonna get there no matter like what you do. If you go off to the left or go off to the right, but you're still gonna get there if you have the intention of getting there.
Right.
And that's what I tell myself every day.
Life's not slowing down. You're gonna turn 40 whether you like it or not. Uh,
Exactly.
it's what you do in between that counts, and that's why tomorrow never comes. It's only about today. Obviously,
Yeah.
tomorrow will come, but for the purpose of what I'm talking about, uh, right now is always the time. The now is the present, and the present moment is all we have. Like, you're never gonna be
Yeah.
alive in the future. per se. You're only alive right now. The future is just a figmentation or a mind construct. It's a whole it's a whole mind construct, and just
It's not tangible.
it's
The
not
future is not
yeah.
tangible in that sense, you know.
No, it's just understanding that it's there, but it's just a construct of the mind. It's useful to help, like, to build on the ideas. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, um, you use the present to create more present moments that will fall in a later time down the timeline, and
Yeah,
that's what people
exactly.
call the future. But a
Yeah,
hard time describing it, but um, you kind of get the picture.
yeah.
Um, so then, I guess fast forward a little bit, you made it to
Hmm.
Seattle, made it down to Portland, Idaho. I skipped Idaho, but um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, anyone could skip Idaho.
yeah, I'm good on potatoes, But and then came all the way down to California, and then funny
Yeah,
enough, I just happened to be out in Ventura working with my uncle and surfing every day. Hard life, I know, but
yeah,
um, that was cool to see you on your journey and then me be on my journey, and
yeah. It was
to
a cool
have
spot.
both of our lives, like both of our lives, run into each other at that point in
Hmm.
time. So we kind of
Hmm.
deviated from it before, where you're graduating and you went off and go on your road trip, and then I had no idea what I was going to do. But then coming out there and then meeting up, it was like a cool time. I mean,
It was.
did the whole Ojai, biking
Hmm.
out to this cool, serene, very notoriously spiritual community. A little expensive, but good
Yeah,
food. They had really good food. That
it
burrito
was
was
a
fucking
nice, it was
great.
a nice
Um,
city for sure.
but just being able to enjoy the beauty of life and having that that space and that time, even what was it, 4 or 5 days,
Hmm.
might as well have been 6 months. Like, it's just
Yeah,
the amount of shit that we did in that time, which
yeah,
was just, it was cool. And
yeah.
and then we split back off, but here we are again. You know what I mean? It's just keep
Exactly.
splitting off, running to each other. And it's just a cool process to watch in hindsight. You can
Hmm.
appreciate in the moment, but there's a different depth of appreciation looking back on it, because then it's like, wow, we did that. Like,
Yeah, you
we
accomplished
did we
something.
did the thing.
Hmm.
We did it, and it's just cool to look back on. But were there any parts of the trip that you kind of felt like, were there any other cool stories, really? I mean, what's the coolest story that you could think of that
I
just
mean, I really want to have like a really cool like cliff jumping story or just something like amazing like that, but there really wasn't that cool of a story other than just like being out there and seeing stuff that I've never seen before.
or
That just
maybe cool is the wrong word. Were there any experiences, just mind blowing experiences? It could have been as simple as sitting on a cliff or sitting on a fucking rock in the desert, just like having a realization. More about, was there growth? Was there a moment of extreme and drastic growth or expansiveness
Mhm.
of your awareness? Yeah.
there definitely was, and those parts came when I was driving. Actually, not actually in the city, but just driving along, and just made me realize like where I want to be and what I want to do
Right.
in my life, and just how I want to shape my life from where it used to be to where I want it to be in the whole health and wellness and performance nutrition industry and everything like that.
Right.
Just because it's such a passion of mine just to live like that and to be like that.
Definitely. um, yeah, I'm at a loss for words. I totally just, it makes so much sense to see you actually doing it. It's awesome to see you living out the dream, essentially. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not all pretty and shiny, but it works
No,
itself out. It
takes
works
a
itself out.
while. I mean,
Yeah.
the smallest things that I thought we were going to be here 2 weeks take about 6 months, something
Right.
like that. So it's all a process.
And then building off of that trip and looking on to future endeavors, you said you're going to Europe, right? I mean, you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
jump too into that because you haven't even done it yet. But there's parts of your previous trip that you could build on, so that you could implement that into your toolkit of your 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 toolkit of travel, like just to understand. Maybe you understand people better now. I mean,
Yeah.
what are maybe three key things that you learned from your trip that you can apply to future trips in general?
I think I learned a lot about how people interact and just the different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
My perspective changed on them. I mean, I used to look at them just in one way that may be negating towards the way I look at them now.
Yeah.
So definitely like more people friendly in that sense. I've taken away from my trip, and just the travel bug, as they say, like you travel once and you want to keep traveling and doing more and doing more. I think that's what really draws me to travel more. So that's another thing I've taken out of it is just to explore and experience as much as I can possible. That's what I really like enjoy and got out of the trip.
Right. It's like getting a tattoo. Once you get one, you just
Yeah,
can't get one.
you can't. Yeah,
But I mean, maybe I would. I think one would be it for me, but I haven't got one, so we'll see about that. I won't allude to it, but we'll see. Uh, and then, so yeah, just kind of building off of both of those trips. I mean,
hmm
yeah, I mean, life is just, you seem to have changed drastically from the past 6 months to now. So obviously, for anybody listening, just go do it.
yeah,
It's not something that is impossible. It might be something that seems impossible because maybe I won't try to leave this job and go on a trip because I think that myself sometimes. I kind of doubt myself, and I think, well, maybe this won't work out. Maybe I'm not good enough. Will I go on this trip and then I'll learn some stuff, but won't
hmm
apply to my job because everybody's just going to be like I'm escaping the world and not trying to get in my career. Like,
well, yeah. Then you're not looking at it right. You know, you're not looking at the whole
exactly.
trip then the right way. I mean,
It just seems to be the trip in itself, in conclusion, just kind of, or in summary, kind of just be a game of perspective.
hmm
It's like an avenue that you can take down the game of life, or down the road of life, in which you can expand and build on your awareness and your perspective on how the world operates, and how you can build on the little intricacies of your yourself, and improve the little parts of yourself that will ultimately lead you to be a better person. That
hmm
might get you the fucking job. Like if you're looking for that job,
yeah.
maybe that trip you had some one little experience that got you the job, or whatever
hmm
have you. I mean, it's just, there's infinite possibilities, but um, yeah, definitely. And then I wanted to touch on another subject. It was more about the nootropics and actually
Yeah.
being in college, jumping back to the college theme, but
hmm
or not, maybe just being in a job, but just nootropics in general. Um, I've actually run into a lot of, not turmoil, but a lot of overwhelming aspects to the end of my college little career here. And I guess for me and the audience, I'll be a little
Yeah.
selfish here, but for me and the audience, would there be, I don't know, three top nootropics? And I say nootropics in quotations because it doesn't have to be a powder or whatever. It can be
hmm
something as simple as maybe coffee. I won't allude to it, but are there three nootropics that you could recommend for maybe experience that people could use to build on maybe social interactions, or maybe explain what a nootropic is in general before?
Yeah. So nootropic is in a quotes, it's a smart drug. It's
Okay.
basically a way where people can ingest something or take something and it alters their mind in a sense of just total. I mean, there's a broad sense of the word nootropic, but
Right.
for shorter time purposes, it's a smart drug, is what it is. It's all
Right.
natural smart drugs.
Right. Uh, Yeah, because I've kind of experimented around with a few of them, like phenylprastam, which is a,
Mhm.
I think it's, I'm not sure what the little intricacies are, whatever goes on in your head, but it seemed to help with my performance in the classroom, uh, and things like that. But you think there's any top, like your top three, whatever those top three things are? Maybe I know caffeine and L-theanine are one. That would
Oh
be
yeah, without a doubt.
a beginner's
The
nootropic, but
the synergistic effect of the caffeine and L-theanine is by far one of the top three.
right,
But right now I'm more on a medicinal mushroom and like that whole type of vibe. Just taking cordyceps, taking reishi, taking lion's mane, taking
right,
that whole like mushroom base, and I feel like that in effects with the caffeine and maybe a couple other of those nootropics really boost my mental performance and my
right.
capabilities of getting things done.
Cool. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just wanted to touch on that. But
Yeah.
good to have you on. And as always,
Yeah.
guys, come back. This is Life Talks. This is the first episode. Many to come. And let us know how I did, how we did, and we'll build on it from there. So see you guys.